भुङ्क्ते भोजयते चैव षड्विधं प्रीतिलक्षणम् ददाति प्रतिगृह्णाति गुह्यमाख्याति पृच्छति भुङ्क्ते भोजयते चैव षड्विधं प्रीतिलक्षणम् Six symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Offering gifts in charity, dadati. Accepting charitable gifts, pratigruhnati. Guiham akhyati pruchhati. Revealing one's mind in confidence and inquiring confidentially. Bhunkte, accepting prasad, and bhojayate, offering prasad, are the six symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. So we welcome everyone for studying Updeshamrit. We are beginning the fourth verse. How to associate with devotees, or what constitutes association and what should be the effect of such association when we associate with devotees. We all know that Lord Krishna is not very easily approachable. But he is very easily approachable through his devotees. These contradictions only exist in the Lord, that he is not very easily approachable, but he is very easily approachable through his devotees. And we have this experience even in ordinary world, where some prime minister or somebody you want to meet, he is not easily approachable. But if you know his personal secretary or some whoever, very individually, personally, then it's done. It's very easy. So, before we even learn how to associate with Krishna, we need to learn how to associate with devotees of Krishna. And this is why this verse is of great importance in our life. The whole stress of this verse is on only one word, and that is called belongingness. How to create belongingness with a devotee of the Lord that he or she considers us as their own. Many a times in our Vaishnava songs we will hear this theme that please consider me as your own. The poet will sing. What is that? Apanara boli. Thinking me as your own man. Please deal with me. In Sanskrit, the actual word is atmiyata, apnapan. You consider someone as your own. So, in order to advance in Krishna consciousness, the first stage was to try and regulate our life and come to the mode of goodness. So, vacho vegam, all those, plus atyahara, prayasa, prajalpa, to be avoided. And then utsahat, nishchayat, dhairyat, to be really cultivated. Tat karma pravartanat, following in the footsteps of devotees. Sangatyagat, giving up bad association. Sato vritte. So where it ended was sato vritte, following in the wake of the devotees or taking their association. That's why Rupa Goswami brings in how this association has to be sought. And that's how the fourth verse begins. So, in our modern times, there is a great challenge in developing quality relationships. What to speak of Vaishnavas that we have never met before and suddenly started interacting after coming in ISKCON. Even blood relatives, family members have tough time having good relationship. Why? Because Kali Yuga flourishes on miscommunication, and disagreements, and it triggers individuals to be dishonest to each other, hypocritical, and thus the whole atmosphere becomes surcharged with faithlessness. I'm just talking not about devotees, I'm saying even blood relatives. It's very common to have miscommunication, misunderstandings, disagreements, quarrels, and not to speak of dishonesty and hypocrisy. And this is how Kali flourishes in this world. Unfortunately, the same tricks he applies in devotee association as well. And that is why it is all the more important that we learn the art of associating with Vaishnavas. Of course, these principles are universal principles. In any relationship you apply these principles, those relationships will become very deep, meaningful, very thorough. But we will study them in a specific context in our association with Vaishnavas. The problem in this world is that most people are all the time running after feelings. When people form relationships in this world, what is the mood they carry? They want to experience the feeling of love. So, usually when people have difficulty dealing with each other, the main theme is that I don't feel love, or I don't feel being loved, and whatever. Now, our acharyas tell us that this is not our target right now. This is called prayojan. This is the end result we want for sure, but the immediate steps are different. So before this even comes in picture, we have to establish two more things: proper sambandha and proper abhidheya. We have to learn the theory of relationships. And then we have to practice those principles that govern relationships. Make sense? So first there has to be a theory that is well learnt. Who am I? Who is Krishna? What is my eternal relationship with him? That we know as Sambandha Jnana. But even otherwise with other living beings. And then that has to be put into practice rigorously. And eventually arises the feeling of love in the heart. So usually a typical marriage or whatever other life begins from this end. People say, there are so many, most of the Hindi movie songs, you should really think about. All this, love at first sight, and dil to pagal hai, dil divana hai, ... So, where does that come from? Because people want to jump into that feeling that they want to experience with each other. And usually because both parties are ignorant and are unwilling often to make the necessary sacrifice, that so-called feeling that they experience for a while in the beginning very quickly fades away. And then what remains is a very ugly reality that I am tolerating you and you are tolerating me. And you wonder where the feeling went. Where is love? So therefore our Vedic literatures tell us, no, not like that. First you get formal understanding of these terms. Then you live properly in that relationship, subordinating your feelings to your duties. And then eventually you will start experiencing the feeling. So, to give an example, in Vedic culture, typically a girl would be married with a boy very early age, but they won't go and stay with them immediately till they became mature. But in the beginning itself, the girl knows theoretically that I have a husband, and that boy knows that I have a wife. So then what happens? Their whole urge to express and receive love is concentrated on only one person. They are not searching after new things every now and then. So that has been building, it's a seed is put in the head, or rather heart, and it's growing, And then the girl once in a while will go to the would-be husband's home and cook for him. That happens for a while. Contact is increased, and then eventually marriage takes place. Marriage also, there are certain restrictions, how they live together with each other. And then eventually they are given the freedom to handle their married life, staying in that bigger family culture. So because of this, what would happen? Because first they were taught to be dutiful towards each other while the love is still in the budding stage, they have mastered this. And eventually, by staying like this with that person for a long period of time, you actually accept them as they are. And thus, you learn how to reciprocate with them. That brings out the feeling of love. So, let's go from this direction, not ulta. Now, what are the principles or practices that govern healthy relationships?
Trust.
Okay, building trust. How does trust build?
How does trust build?
Understanding.
Actually.
Okay, trust builds by understanding the other person for who they are, what their needs and values are, their personality. Respect. Very important quality. Now, respect means what? See again. Respect again. So, what do you see again? So, if I see this, this is marker. Respect. See again. It is marker being used in Krishna's service. So, it is a tadiya, the paraphernalia of the Lord. Similarly, I look at some person. Who is this? Oh, he's just a boy. But then, look again. He's a devotee of Krishna, learning Krishna consciousness. So as soon as you bring Krishna's connection with that, that is how you add divinity to everything. And this is why relationships were treated very sacred. There is no such a thing as divorce in Vedic culture. Interesting. Oh, ghataspot. That word is of recent origin. It is not a coined, it's a coined word. It's not there originally in Sanskrit language at all. Can you imagine a language that has no word like that? What does it mean? It's not there in their culture. In modern times, people will howl and shout to hear this. This is not torture to stay with that person who you don't like to be with, all throughout your life, all blah, blah, blah. But because we have gone in the wrong direction, that's why these problems are existing. Anyway, so respect, see again in relationship with Krishna. What is the exact value that this carries? What else is important?
Acceptance and tolerance.
My God. Accept. And in the beginning, maybe you can use the word tolerate, but actually what we are supposed to do is to celebrate. So accept the nature of the person and their needs and values, that they are different from us. But eventually we have to come in terms with this, that we have to celebrate diversity, not tolerate. We are happy together because we are not like each other. Just imagine if Krishna's birthday is there, and for celebration, all that has been arranged around are kaupin wearing brahmacharis doing Hari Bol Kirtan. So maybe Krishna would look up from the cradle and watch that. But that's not as fun as much as, you will come now, on 23rd of our temple's anniversary program. There is a cultural program, kids are singing, Matajis are having some kathak, somebody else is doing something. There is a feast cook, there are 100 other activities going on in the temple. Diversity is mother of enjoyment. So Vaishnavism flourishes on individuality. That I am not like you, Hari Paul. We are happy about it. So accept the nature of the other person and learn to celebrate. How can we come together and do something which alone is difficult for us to accomplish? Any other? What is important in relationships? Loyalty. We need to be loyal. Oh, I think this is also part of this trustworthiness. Yes. Faith. A little deeper word. Yes.
Caring.
My goodness. What are the items that express care? That you care? Yes. Most important is service. What else?
Adjusting also.
Okay, we adjust. Again, this similar topic here. What else?
Transparency.
Huh?
Transparency.
Transparency. Honesty.
Knowing other person's need, interest in person.
Okay, NICs. Needs, interest, concerns and expectations. We should know them properly.
Each other. Respective duties, each other's duties.
Okay, clear understanding and execution of duties. Sometimes there's a lot of ambiguity about who is supposed to do what, and then quarrels happen.
Being together through ups and downs.
Togetherness. Despite challenges. Right? Okay. You are all relationship experts. My God, that's amazing.
Totally nurture.
Okay, can you explain your care and nurture a little more?
We have to respect each other's duties, keeping our feelings behind,
Okay. So let's call duties first and feelings later. Duties above feelings. Any other? I'm just waiting for one specific item.
Growing together.
Growing. Okay. Do things together, first of all, whether it is cooking, eating, swimming, jogging, chanting. As much as can you do things together, the better. And then in that, grow together.
Patience.
Patience. Be patience. Dhairya. I'm actually, these are all values or qualities. I'm more specific about behavior that exhibits what we can work upon.
Be dutiful.
Okay, we did that. And yeah. Appreciation on a regular basis. And also one more thing is encouragement. Move forward. Or other words, forgiveness. This was one I was waiting for. Move forward. Let's move forward. Ho, ho, ho. A lot of sambandha and abhideya. Now you can appreciate. We have to ask this question to ourselves. How much of this have I really tried to follow in that relationship that I am currently working on? Before we demand feelings. Now somebody may say, Prabhu, ये सब हो गया try करके फिर भी feeling नहीं आता है. Then there are two more things, and they are very deadly. It's called ahaituki apratihata. Oh my God. Unmotivated and uninterrupted. And by the way, Krishna has been doing this all for us, whether we are doing it for him or not. Krishna has been really following this in his relationship towards us. And he is our master, so to say, teacher in this regard. We have given up on Krishna, we don't serve him, we don't even like to be with him. But Krishna, birth after birth, hiding his presence from us as Paramatma, goes on facilitating, serving, arranging, encouraging, guiding, everything. And there are two more items in the relationship. That work is called teaching or sharing with each other what you have learned, and also correcting when needed. So the point I'm trying to make is, before even we get into this verse, we have to get aware of what do relationships stand for in terms of activities that we must cultivate when we say I have a relationship with this person. And people can sense it in us all through the life and the challenges. Who is who? People will get to know. And in order to do this, which is the central challenge of our life, to have meaningful relationships, we are given chance after chance by Krishna. Every birth is a chance. Would you like to do it? In the process of doing this with fellow beings, there is also the growth of our relationship with Krishna. That's an interesting point. When parents try and take care of their kids very sincerely with Krishna conscious practices of these items, the parent's appreciation towards Krishna increases. What kind of parent Krishna is. So this is how it works in our life. Trying to give our best to the main or important relationships in our life. So this whole arrangement is actually exactly opposite of the romance culture that we have in modern times. What is that? Fast to cry, fast to dry. So people say, oh, he's such a person, loving this, that. And after some days you find them fighting like cats and dogs. Now let's take a case study. Rukmini and Krishna, Romeo and Juliet, the original one. So that's my most favorite pastime from Bhagavatam. How Krishna is amazing, heroic. So Rukmini had never seen Krishna. She had only heard about him from Narad Muni. And simply hearing about Krishna's Nama Rupa Guna Leela, she fell in love with him. And so much so that she wrote a love letter and told Krishna that please come and kidnap me. I don't want to marry this Shishupal. Moochwala and Poochwala, as our Radheshampru calls it. So Krishna was more than eager, and this is not physical love, it's purely spiritual platform. And we know the whole pastime, how they arrange to get Rukmini kidnapped. Krishna fights a big war, eventually gets married to Rukmini, brings her home. And then comes that interesting pastime, Krishna teases Rukmini. That's another beautiful story in Bhagavatam. So you will find, I don't know about Krishna, but Rukmini doing all of these things with Krishna. In that chapter of Bhagavatam, Rukmini is extremely faithful, chaste, loyal, she has clear understanding of Krishna's personality, she executes her duties perfectly, she even everything. So it's an amazing example. So by the way, when we talk about scriptures, God has not given anything in the scriptures that he himself does not follow. So we should not crib and cry कि कृष्णा का क्या जाता है बड़े बड़े इंस्ट्रक्शन देने में, इधर फॉलो करने में कितना हवा टाइट होता है हमारा people. We have that kind of attitude, but we should know that it is not like that. Okay, so can you please clean this up?
So now all this MMOT, all this Sambandha Abhidhen, if we have MMOT,
Correct.
everything is taken care of.
But because I have already explained MMOT a million times, so I'm not wanting to take a toll on you today. We just spoke it from the perspective of Sambandha Abhidheya Prayojana. Now, we have how to maintain eagerness in a relationship. How to not get bored, basically. Because material familiarity breeds contempt. Spiritual familiarity breeds love. The more you get to know the spiritual qualities and the nature and the activities of the other person, the more you fall in love with them. So that's what usually happens between us and our spiritual master, us and Krishna. But what happens with other relationships? So this is where we need to apply these 6 loving exchanges to avoid stagnation in relationships. The more we apply these 6 principles, they are so deep, one will experience the juice of loving relationships. So therefore, these 6 principles are to be seen in that context. They actually breed love in due course of time when dutifully followed. So I don't know what to exactly do with our population today, because this is such an important topic. I keep going back and forth in my mind whether to complete it today itself or not. But let's not punish the present people. Purport. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami explains how to perform devotional service in the association of other devotees. So what was happening with Vacho Vegam, Atyahara, Prayasa and Utsahat Nishchayat? That was more like a personal practice that we must maintain on a regular basis. Now we are talking about what to do when we are with other devotees. So there are 6 kind of activities. And Prabhupada directly gets to the point. What is meant by Guhyam Akhyati Pruchhati? An experienced devotee explains, and an inexperienced devotee learns from him. So, Dadati Pratigruhnati and Bhunte Bhojayate, they are aimed at Guhyam Akhyati Pruchhati. You understand? Giving and accepting gifts and feeding and accepting prasadam is aimed at what is Guhyam? Bhakti. Rajavidya, Rajaguhyam, Pavitram, Idam Uttamam. So, basically, the goal is bhakti, to enhance each other's bhakti. That is the top secret. So akhyati means to explain one's heart condition, and pruchhati means to inquire another's heart condition. This is the goal. Sometimes what happens, devotees with each other have excellent give and take of material resources, support systems, even sometimes familial care or whatever. They have excellent feeding and eating business. ISKCON means the kitchen religion, we all know. But they forget to do this. This guhyam gets replaced with prajalpa. So that's the one thing one has to really worry about, because that is not the goal of our association. I hope the verse makes sense, no? So an experienced devotee speaks and an inexperienced devotee learns from him. Which means that usually we should try and do these activities with devotees who are not just our juniors and equals, but especially our seniors, if we are to make spiritual advancement. So ideal would be that if we can spend 33% of our time with our seniors, 33% with our equals, and 33% with our juniors. That would be ideal if that can happen. Usually in equal association, there is competition. And in junior association, there is superiority. And sometimes even exploitation. We take disadvantage of their unknown, naive conditions. But it is only in the superior association that we actually get pulled and get elevated in our consciousness. So as much we emphasize these, we must also emphasize seniors association. This is not a ISKCON law. This is just a way of putting it mathematically. Usually it is very difficult to get quality superior association. But we should try. So this is how it should look like in general. If we are to really make swift spiritual advancement and go further in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise we'll get stuck up thinking that these attitudes and these behaviors are as a standard of Krishna consciousness movement and never make actually further progress. So then continues the point of bhunkte bhojayate. When a devotee distributes prasad, in order to maintain our spirit of devotional service, we must accept this prasad as Lord's grace received through the pure devotees. Terrible instruction. We must. We should also invite pure devotees to our home, offer them prasad and be prepared to please them in all respects. This is called bhunkte bhojayate chaiva. So this is in summary Prabhupada is telling. Now he will actually begin. So his introduction begins in the second paragraph. Even in ordinary social activities, these 6 types of dealings between two loving friends are absolutely necessary. Otherwise, relationships become stagnated over a period of time. You have heard the law of entropy? You know what is entropy? How many of you studied thermodynamics? Okay, what is entropy? Rate of disorder in any system, which means everything in this material world is consistently undergoing deterioration. And the rate at which it is getting deteriorated is called entropy. Unless you supply energy into the system, things instead of going up, they will always come down. That is called law of entropy. And this applies not only for material mechanical things, it also applies for relationships. Which means if you are not regularly supplying energy through these 6 loving exchanges in a particular relationship, over a period of time that relationship will become stagnated or lowered in its stature. And that is why this energy supply is what is being talked about. You have to keep it up, especially with our pure devotee spiritual master. Otherwise, there is a great chance that even that feeling originally that we had will eventually go away. Like I remember one devotee, he had some trouble in his life and he went and told his spiritual master. And the spiritual master, whatever may be the best judgment that he made of that situation, he said, well, I will pray for you. Why? Because he was not in a position to physically or practically immediately get into the detailing and do something about it. This devotee in the background has been undergoing a big difficulty, has lost a lot of his spiritual practice and culture and problems. When that statement came from the spiritual master, instead of thinking how grateful I should feel that my spiritual master said this, that he will pray for me specifically for this difficulty, this devotee said, महाराज को तो अभी टाइम ही नहीं है, वो सिर्फ प्रेयर ही कर सकते हैं. So you can imagine where does the whole thing go? Why? Simply because there is no regular give and take with the spiritual master. Now you may say, Prabhu, ऐसे spiritual master थोड़ी रोज मिलता है कुछ करने के लिए, you know? No, even hearing from him regularly, in the home offering Guru Puja to him, writing something personally to him, sometimes trying to make a gesture of personal service to him in some form or other. These are very vital. Vital means life-sustaining activities for the relationship between a guru and disciple. So these 6 types of loving dealings are absolutely necessary. For instance, when one businessman wishes to contact another businessman, he arranges a feast in a hotel and over the feast openly expresses what he wishes to do. This is my proposal. He then inquires from his business friend how should he act further, and then sometimes presents are exchanged. You know, they give presents to each other. Thus, whenever there is a dealing of preeti, love in intimate dealings, these 6 activities are naturally executed. Now, one time, Srila Prabhupada, there was Radha Damodar bus party in America, run by Tamal Krishna Maharaj and many others, Vishnu Janaswami and others. That Radha Damodar bus party was making huge profits through the book distribution of Prabhupada's books. Srila Prabhupada needed help. He wanted to build temples in Mayapur, Vrindavan, Bombay, Hyderabad. So Prabhupada had a thing in mind that if these devotees who are running that bus party, instead of spending that Lakshmi for doing American preaching, give that money for making temples in India, that would do great good to our movement. Now you see, Prabhupada is he's a spiritual master, he can demand. He's in that stature. But Prabhupada was thinking, it's their hard work. They are doing this work of distributing books far and wide and with such austere conditions. They should have a willing consent for such a, not like you do Dadagiri. So Prabhupada was in, I think, Radha Damodar temple, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj had come at that time to India, and Prabhupada had already made him I don't know whether he had given him a proposal of becoming a GBC of India or something. And that was already in the thought. So Prabhupada once invited him in the same place where we go, Radha Damodar Mandir, and he had told Yamuna Mataji to cook first class feast. And then they sat, when Tamal Krishna Maharaj came, Prabhupada sat him down, and first time ever in his life, Tamal Krishna Maharaj sitting with his spiritual master. We generally don't do that. We eat after the spiritual master. He was very shy, he was saying, no, I will not sit. Prabhupada said, no, you sit, no, please sit with me. And then Prabhupada, made sure that he gets sumptuously fed, and he would even tell, this item he liked the most, feed it more. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj was like, oh, what a treatment, by the spiritual master, right? So they had nice prasadam, and then Prabhupada brought up the topic. The topic of whether Radha Damodar bus party's money can come to India for making the temples. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj is a very strong-willed personality and astute manager. He knows business, so to say, in our terms. He was so flat by the dealings of Prabhupada that he just couldn't say no, to that proposal. Of course, as a disciple, he would not have ever said no. That's not the point. But even otherwise, and then Prabhupada, he writes in that book, Servant of the Servant, this whole pastime. And then he said, I was so happy to be tricked by my spiritual master. Because he knew that I may have my ego, we have made this money, it has to be spent this way, in service of Krishna, that way in service of Krishna. Prabhupada completely, like a bypass, the whole thing. And he got it arranged very nicely. So, spiritual master is always more intelligent than the disciple. That's the conclusion he gives, in that chapter. Of course, we should not use these 6 principles to trick devotees to get our wishes sanctioned from them. As I said, ahetukiya pratihata. If there is a valid proposal, Prabhupada's proposal is very valid, right? He's not exploiting his disciple or wanting anything personal. In fact, we have this accusation in India, ISKCON is sending money from India to America. We should tell them this pastime. This is how our spiritual master was intelligent in getting the American money, to come and put it into India. So anyways, the point is, no duplicity. Diplomacy is okay. Diplomacy for Krishna's sake, in terms of what we want to get accomplished to further the service of the Lord. But no personal agenda and selfishness. These 6 are very powerful principles. The day you start applying them, you'll start realizing their potential. Now, another interesting thing, this is a very important point. We generally tend to think that after I have come to ISKCON, all my relatives are demoniac. Because they don't practice Krishna consciousness. And the devotees are super, I'm longing to develop relationship with them. One day my superior, some devotee, he will give me so much love, and then I'm going to feel, great satisfaction, with loving reciprocation that I got. This is a typical mistake we make. We are supposed to value every relationship, not just devotee relationship. We have a strong tendency. I have done all these mistakes myself, so I'll tell you more. Typically when you join temple, you do a lot of tod food. At home with parents, with all the relatives. And when I joined, some 16 people had come in 4 cars, to argue with Radhesham Prabhu. Hamare bachche ko ghar wapas bhejo. Radhesham Prabhu said, yeah, he's your child, you take him home. So my mother looks at me and said, hey, Suna, let's go. I said, no, I'm not going. Oh my God, that was I did after that for quite a while. I was having this mentality, these are all, demoniac, and they don't practice spiritual life, and they don't know anything about chanting Hare Krishna. They don't even sometimes follow 4 regulative principles, which make you a human being. So we have all these concepts in our head. And I will tell you, for almost 5-7 years, I made their and my life very miserable by my dealings. I'm guilty of that. Over a period of time, I suddenly started realizing, now don't misunderstand me when I say this, that the love that I'm hankering for in devotee association is on Manomaya platform. It's not Anandamaya. My mind needs some satisfaction of a relationship. And because I am a Kanishta Adhikari, and other fellow beings are also often around that area, so Anandamaya, the purest form of devotee exchange, becomes very difficult. And often on an organizational level, devotees are busy with their own services and they have hundreds of things to do. It is not that they don't want to reciprocate love, but it is just that they have priorities which may not be like your priorities. So what happens? Na ghar ka, na ghat ka. We don't get even Anandamaya forget that is out of range. Even the normal family feeling, like that day I told you, there are many things in spiritual life we are theoretically convinced about, but emotionally not connected yet. One of that is we should have a family of devotees. We should live and die for each other. Say, wonderful. Very nice. Good concept. What is the reality? The reality is that if I have a trouble, now don't misunderstand. Even if I were to suffer some deadly disease or even a fall down in spiritual life, it would be my father and mother who would jump first up and come to rescue. Not that my superiors and others won't be. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying in terms of intensity of approach. Devotees will come, they will meet you in the hospital, give some prasad, fruits. No, they say, please take care. Don't. But usually, unless you have really heart-to-heart connection with those devotees, they won't stay overnight, for 10 days in the hospital, slogging for you. And so you ask that question. So much for love. So we should make sure that even the blood relatives, with devotees also, we have to employ 6 loving exchanges, but also with our... Why? Because Krishna has taught us to do Loka Sangraha, not Loka Sangram. You understand? Loka Sangraha means Chikirshur Loka Sangraham. Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita that we should take everybody together and go ahead. We don't have to compromise our principles. We just need to extend a little on their end and create these facilities. One devotee was sharing with me recently that he went to his hometown and he arranged a family get-together of all his mother's side people. And what was the get-together? There was a talent show. All the cousin brothers and sisters, everybody displayed whatever talent. Somebody played tabla, somebody sang a song, somebody, showed that lathi, ghumane ka. Everybody has some talent. And then they had some, sharing about who is who are they, what are they doing now in their current life, and what are their needs that they want to be fulfilled from the family members. So there was an old lady in the family. She was neglected by her husband and she was not having much income. So everybody pitched in some money, That little money also makes a big difference for her because she was in a very bad condition. So many things happened. Another thing that happened was the children were brought into center and the parents were told that you have to glorify your children, your child. So as soon as the mother started speaking, Maza Babya Lai Chagla Hai, crying, there's that, everybody's crying, and that child is not knowing, my God, my parents really love me. I earlier thought they are also demoniac. And all this is going on in the background. My God. At this devotee, he said, my role was not like, chal rahe mala pakad, Hare Krishna jap kar. That was not my role. My role was simply to facilitate 6 loving exchanges. At the end of that, they said, अरे ये devotee ने आके इतना अच्छा हमारा काम किया. तो उन्होंने बोला, प्रभु आप भी थोड़ा कुछ बोलो आपके भगवान के बारे में. कीर्तन करवाओ हमसे थोड़ा कीर्तन. And then he told them, okay, let's have a kirtan. They all had a kirtan. He spoke from Bhagavatam, some pastimes, of Krishna and Pandavas, and they were all like, wow. And then at the end of that whole story, you should have heard what they were speaking. ISKCONचे लोक किती चांगले आहेत नाही? How intelligent and sensitive and service oriented and caring. Oh my God, this devotee was telling, my God, Prabhu, I can't believe these are my relatives. I used to earlier hate them for not being devotees. You understand? And now I can't believe what they are doing, in their life. Are you with me? Yes. Yeah. So will you do Loka Sangraha? Not Loka Sangram. हम लोग को लगता है कि हम पांडव है वो कौरव है. एक ही फैमिली तो क्या हुआ? They are all headed for impersonalism, demigod worship, atheism, this, that. These are all issues where a person is not feeling belongingness. So that manifests in trouble creation. Misbehaving children are unfulfilled children. Repeat. It's a very important point. So generally we look at the misbehavior and keep giving gusa, not exactly understanding what is the unfulfillment this person is undergoing. So this is not just about children, it is also about big children, adults. So this time when my parents came, I just plain spoke up to them. I told them that I am so sorry. I tortured you real bad at the time of my joining. My mother started crying. I said, don't cry immediately. I have a lot to say. What all torture? And then I told her, once you came and I didn't even ask you prasadam, I was busy, for arranging sabji cutting, because I just came from the market yard bringing the sabji and I neglected you. And I did this with my father, and they were not getting कि ऐसा अचानक क्या परिवर्तन आ गया ये, So then I told so many horrible things I have done. Then I told actually I really want to compensate for all this, the lack of love. How can I do it? So they gave me this suggestion. We should have once a year family get together, once with my mother's side and once with my father's side. And once in a year I should take their yatra somewhere. So they have immediately agreed to go to Mayapur. This is one meeting, 10-minute meeting. Things have happened that have never happened, in the past. For me to think of these people saying such things is an unbelievable thing. And the next day, immediately I got a call from my Mausi. She says, we heard that you are planning like this. We are the first ones to come. All that. And it went on. So then just as a reciprocation, I went and met all of them. They had got gathered for my brother's engagement. And I made sure that these things were done. Given quality prasadam. Everybody received a New Year's calendar. And I asked them, what do you want me to serve with? So I have my 3 cousin sisters. They have like this size babies, all of them. So they said, we heard that you are doing MEd. Tell us about child education. So favorite topic. So I have a lot to tell. So I whole art of parenting, and they were all taking notes and listening every word. And I'm not able to believe this is my sister. She never took me so seriously in her life. So, it was an amazing experience. So I think I got too much carried away today. I went somewhere in the topic. But I was just trying to make a simple point that if you put energy, the entropy will go away in relationships. And this is not just to be applied only in Hare Krishna devotees. It also has to be applied with others around. If somebody troubles you too much, what do you do with them? You kill them with love. So मार ही देने का उसको. So that is our strategy. People should feel the weight of this movement. That these are killers. मार ही देते हो पूरा, उसके बाद उठता ही नहीं व्यक्ति वापस. कुछ करने के लिए. Comes the statement. In the previous verse, Srila Rupa Goswami advised that one should renounce worldly association and keep company with the devotees. Now, are my relatives devotees? They are budding devotees. Can I keep company with them? The International Society for Krishna Consciousness. This line, you double underline it, asterisk it, highlight it. What do you want to do? The International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been established for what? Fund collection? For book distribution? For deity worship? For what? To facilitate these 6 kinds of loving exchanges between devotees. Hey Bhagwan, what a change of paradigm. Prabhupada, this society was started single-handedly, but because people are coming forward and dealing with the give and take policy, the society is now expanding all over the world. We are glad that people are donating very liberally to the development of the society's activities. People are also eagerly accepting whatever humble contribution we are giving them in the form of books, magazines, dealing strictly with the subject matter of Krishna consciousness. We sometimes hold Krishna festivals, invite life members and friends to participate in feasting by accepting prasad. So on and on. That goes further. Last 3 lines in the same page. The life of the Krishna consciousness society is nourished by the 6 types of loving exchanges amongst the members. Therefore, people must be given the chance to associate with the devotees of ISKCON, because simply by reciprocating in the 6 ways mentioned above, please note that line, an ordinary man can fully revive his dormant Krishna consciousness. What is the power of the 6 exchanges? Sangat sanjayate kamaha. One's desires and ambitions develop according to the company one keeps. हमारा problem क्या है? We don't keep the connect and continue extending the company of our devotional service to those people. And that's why they never become devotees, and it becomes like a self-justifying, self-fulfilling prophecy. कि देखा मैंने बोला था वो डेमोनियक है, डिवोटी नहीं बनेगा कभी वो. You know. And I can't believe, one of my uncle, Mos's husband, he got cancer. And he was like a self-made man, so many things in life. And I have seen him in his good days. And he was really like, he was not atheist, but not like a exactly devotional person either. Now when he got cancer, and I tried doing something for him, I tried to figure out the best pain management doctors, devoted doctors to get connected to him and get help with astrology and get help with his. He was asking me how to attain samadhi. I said, what happened to you? He said, I want to transcend my pain. I said, wow. And then, the whole discussion about how to chant and what are the stages, the namabhas, namaprad, all that shuddhanam, how to go further. And I can't believe I was talking all these things to him over a period of time. So, let's remember these lines, very resounding lines from the purports. What are those lines? Society is established for facilitating 6 loving exchanges. Later, simply by reciprocating 6 loving exchanges, ordinary man can revive full Krishna consciousness. Third, one's desires and ambitions develop according to company one keeps. Association takes place on many levels. There is Vapu and Vani. In Vapu, to get to serve them, to cook for them, or to drive them, or to arrange some needed things for them. And Vani primarily is hearing and executing the instructions.
You said that if you want to, is it also not important that your standards for sadhana are proper? Otherwise, you may also get killed.
Yeah, correct. So we already discussed the Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam. And that basis is already established, that one has to stand on 2 legs firm in sadhana bhakti to do all these other things. Yes, that is a preamp. Otherwise, in trying to save them, you get shot dead by Maya. Well, first of all, this is not to say that each relationship will always attain its peak every now and then. May not be. But our dutifulness is what we should emphasize. Whether the other person reciprocates or not, whether the feeling arises or not, whether things take the best shape or not. And the classic example of this is the Jada Bharata and his father. Jada Bharata was really weird. And he purposefully behaved here. Nobody knew that he's a pure devotee. But even keeping that story aside, his father was so dutiful in dealing with him that he knew he's a Brahman born boy, he has to learn the Brahminical standards. Daily he would sit with him and try to teach him Vedas. And purposefully Jada Bharata would make mistakes. He will say chant Om, Hey, some sound he will make. And he will say Om, Om. You can imagine teaching somebody like that, And he would be told, after going for cleaning your stomach, then you have to take bath. So you will take bath and then go for clearing, How do you deal with that? But his father never gave up on him. So this is how Vedic culture is. I remember in our congregation, Satyavati Mataji had her personal father and mother and her in-laws, father and mother. All four of them till the old age, for long duration of time, despite all the suffering of, invalidity and disease and everything, steadily serving. No cribbing, no crying. Sometimes she had to give up so much of her devotional, activities to do that. So we have to treat it that we are also trying to repay the debt that we have in that context. We may sow goodness in a particular quarter of the universe, but we should not expect that the goodness has to come back from the same quarter back to me. It will come back from some another quarter, because the universe is fair and just. So there are many things that happen good to us for which we have not done anything. So we should know, it's coming from another arrangement. Do good anyway. You know that poem, right? Yes.
Prabhu, when it comes to family or your loved ones, it becomes difficult to make a judgment call of how do you know whether you're compromising on principles or not compromising on principles. So when you're talking about executing relationships, what would you elaborate as principles, and how would you know whether you're compromising on principles or not compromising on principles?
Very deep question. Sometimes the family member may demand for you to break a four regulatory principle to express that you love them. It's an interesting challenge. Or sometimes they may say that you don't go to temple, or don't chant your 16 notes, or whatever. If you love me, do this for me. That kind of a challenge. So it's very difficult at that time to tell that person that I love you, but I also love Krishna. So they don't accept that. They say divided love nahi hota hai. So what to do? So there could be various strategies. One of the strategies is, sometimes it's called lose a battle and win the war. Is that how they say? Or lose the war, win the battle? Okay, you got it. So you have to sometimes on a short-term basis compromise, so that on a long-term basis you achieve something wonderful in the relationship. So like we tell कि sometimes there is an issue, यात्रा जाना है कि फैमिली के साथ दिवाली मनाना है, और वो बहुत घमासान होता है उसका, ठाड़ ठाड़, तुम लोग क्या है रे, दिवाली के टाइम उठ के चले जाते हो घर छोड़ के, ऐसा थोड़े होता है कहीं, नहीं हम गोवर्धन जाते हैं, घर में ही तो जाते हैं, वृंदावन इज आवर होम, वी आर गोइंग देयर. दे डोंट अंडरस्टैंड ऑल योर फिलोसफी. So the best policy is to think and act on satisfying both parties' needs and values. So we can ask them a question, like many of our devotees do, that I will go for the half yatra, and half yatra I will miss, and that time I will be at home when you want me to be. So it's a win-win. Or another is that I will compromise of chanting my 16 rounds, sitting in front of you, and in return you agree to drop me to temple or arrange for my other things in devotional life. So there has to be something that we adjust.
But the definition of principles is different for different
people.
You will not probably...
Correct. What is their dharma is not our dharma. Because as we elevate our consciousness, the quality of do's and don'ts increases to be followed. So we understand that, but they don't understand. So in especially blood relatives, there is a need of compromise to go down and lift the person and bring them along to this standard.
To what extent do you keep trying? So the question is that you know that their level of understanding and your level of understanding are two planes apart. So for how many times or at what point you start like, okay, this is the full stop, beyond this?
No, as I said, in a relationship there is no such a thing as full stop. It's always in motion. I'm more than a devotional service. So it's a constant ongoing, it's always a process. It's never an end. There is no result. It always remains a process. So you have to keep coming back in the relationship to figure out what works. And this is especially I'm talking when it is blood relatives or like very immediate connections. At certain point of time where it is like if the person is too exploitative or they are really very sinful in such a way that it can jeopardize a lot, even our life sometimes, forget spiritual life, then we may desist from continuing further, not to get. But in general, our mood should be, how can I do better? Not like, tod phod kar dunga abhi. That should not be the mood.
In one statement you were saying about duplicity. So sometimes in outside world I can able to understand little faster, but when devotees are concerned, because many are there very nice, Hari Bol, the trance mein hota hai. So but sometimes there is a duplicity. So how we should know that what is the going on? This is one question. The split personality or duplicity, how should we know it?
We should in general assume the best out of other people.
Like if you say with Manish Prabhu, so with him it's so clear, what he's inside, what he says, it's with everybody common. So if he's speaking to a junior like me or senior like Chaitanya Chand Prabhu, so his speech will be straightforward. I don't need to think that under
whether he meant it or not.
He's clear. जो ठीक लगेगा तो ठीक नहीं, he is very clear. But with some people बाद में समझ आता है एकदम हरी बोल एकदम अच्छा होता है, but sometimes so how to we should be careful and how should we know?
As soon as we detect something like this, we should be straight enough to go and talk to them. As soon as we detect and actually ask, we just talk about behavior and the story that our mind is telling about that behavior and ask a question. How am I to understand? Direct. Rather than just beating around the bush. If we are not duplicitous, then this is what we should do. If you find that person is going to take an offense or is going to go in the wrong direction, then we have to do that in a little more diplomatic way. Like we send an email, instead of facing the person, or we say, there could be other ways. Or sometimes we involve a superior that they respect very much. Who asks them the question? Okay, what is this to be understood about? But if we really care for the relationship, it has to be sorted out. It just cannot go on like that for a long time.
And what are the criteria we should know that this person is generally vicious? He should be.
No, that's what I'm saying. In general, with devotees, we should assume them in their best position, which means expect the best. But when it comes to dealing with money, land, property, close family relationship like getting married, we should be as shrewd as materialists are while dealing even with devotees. And it should be all, as we said, documented, legal, and very clarified expectations noted down. No ambiguities. Kuch aisa nahi ki tum devotee, my devotee, let's get into this. No. Like some devotee comes and says, Prabhu, thoda paise de sakte ho kya udhar? You can say, I'm not a bank. If you fall sick, you go to doctor, right? You don't go to another devotee, thoda pill de do mere ko. So why suddenly now for money? So it's better to be like that in the beginning than to later on carry that into our spiritual practices as trouble. So that is what I mean by. Another way to deal with this problem is actually to increase our Krishna consciousness at such a level that we start loving people despite their these kind of weaknesses. That's a very different platform. कि हमको पता है वो क्या बकवास है वो whatever it is, the qualities and the behavior, but we know that this devotee badly needs help, in a spiritual life. So we extend our relationship to care and bring them up. And at other times it is best not to keep respectful distance. If you understood that you are not able to handle, nor are they reciprocative, honest enough, a respectful distance. You also be Hari Bol, Dandavat Pranam, and you go ahead with your spiritual practice.
These exchanges do not happen within the family, like mother-in-law, daughter-in-law. Does that lead to Vaishnava before our initiation?
This is an interesting question. We generally tend to think that Vaishnava Aparad applies only to non-family members. If the family members initiate, Vaishnava Aparad क्या होता है? तू Vaishnava. What kind of Vaishnava? Familiarity exists. Very dangerous. So if they are initiated, we should safely assume that they are Krishna's people. Krishna has, Diksha Kale, Krishna Tare, Kare Atma Sam, we say, na? Krishna accepts him as a family member at the time of initiation. So what is this mood that, with family members, हमारे बीच में कुछ अपराध नहीं है प्रभु, हम एक दूसरे के तोड़फोड़ ही करते हैं जब होता है कुछ. So that is not a very good approach. So as I said, there are some of these things that we don't follow. For example, two basic things. We don't understand the individual and we don't clarify our needs and values. These are two top reasons why people have trouble with each other. So this has to be sorted out.
You see that where devotees who have been practicing KC for many years, over 15 years, and you see it happening with them.
So
They not understood it or what?
is their choice to remain Kanishta Adhikari for 20 years, 30 years, 50 years down the line. Why should we get on their case? They cannot be our role models. Nor should we even criticize because we exactly don't know.
But then since they are senior devotees, everybody must be looking after them.
Yeah, so if you are troubled, you go and tell their superiors कि इनके बीच में ऐसा चलता रहता है, it disturbs everybody's mind. Can somebody look into it? After that, you forget it. Yes.
It's a comment from me. Of late, I realize that all my family members, my four sisters and my brother, my parents, they're neglecting me a lot. So one day I went home and I made it clear that I'm getting hurt because I'm getting neglected. And from then onwards, and because even though I used to attend all the birthday parties, all functions, I've never missed out on that whatever. So now they have realized, and from them onwards I get special calls, I get everything, and I feel well placed in the family again. And I showed that I need their love. It's not that because I've taken a different path that they start neglecting me. So it works that way.
Honestly speaking, you really want your Manomaya course to be peaceful, you have to have good relationship with your blood relatives. And your Anandamaya is yet to come, So wait. And even if devotees don't offer the best of Manomaya or Anandamaya, don't get on their case. You understand this is how it is. Sometimes we sometimes get upset with ISKCON and the devotees also. कि मैं इतना कर रहा हूँ, सेवा कर करके जान चला जा रहा है मेरा, कोई इधर मेरे प्रेम नहीं देता है, appreciation नहीं देता है, expecting wrong. You have to get it straight in our head first. So when I understood this concept, I became so peaceful. Earlier I used to think, oh, Radhesham Guru should give this type of reciprocation, Govind Guru should give that type of reciprocation. So I now think, even if they would want to, can they really give? Because they're the situation, the scenarios and everything. And they have their way of giving love. Through their guidance, cautions, once in a while personally meeting, patting on the back. But I cannot expect them to be like my family, how my, like father or mother would deal with me. Very difficult. So, till that culture comes, we are all preparing for it right now. It will come. इट्स नॉट इम्पॉसिबिलिटी. ऐसे हम नहीं बोल रहे कि डिवोटी के साथ अपेक्षा मत करो, मतलब कुछ होने वाला नहीं इधर. दैट इज नॉट अवर पॉइंट. बट वी शुड ऑल्सो अप्रिशिएट कि आई हैव दीज नीड्स एंड दे हैव टू बी फुलफिल्ड, एंड वी शुड एक्सपेक्ट अकॉर्डिंगली. So we end there. Thank you all very much. Upadeshamrita ki jai. Shri Rupa Goswami Pada ki jai.